Should you draft Joe Mixon in fantasy football this year? Well, let's talk about it. Joe Mixon was one of the surprising guys who really broke out last year after changing teams, along with Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, all those other guys. And I like him this year, but I do think it's important to kind of look at the situation that led him to be as elite as he was last year. Mixon finished last year as the RB17, and he's currently ranked as the RB18 and the 47th overall player, so he's very much going about where he finished last year. Mixon was a RB1, despite not being drafted as it, for the first part of last year. Through the first 8 games he played, he averaged 22.6 points per game, and then he faded kind of hard down the stretch, where the last 6 games he played, he averaged just 9.9 points. I'm not too concerned about that. I think that was more evidence of a Texans offense that was just struggling and dead by that point in the season, with Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs gone. Mixon was really the beneficiary last year of an O-line that couldn't pass block and could run block. So it meant that the offense really leaned on the run game because it was the most efficient way for them to accomplish things. I do think that the offense now, this year, will want to try and shift back to being more pass heavy. Maybe not, Bengals pass heavy, but being more pass heavy, just because CJ Stroud's a passing quarterback. You want to highlight your quarterback strengths, and CJ Stroud's strength is passing. So I do think that the new offensive coordinator will try to get the offense back to a more passing happy offense. But I don't think that's going to hurt Mixon necessarily. There was the addition of Nick Chubb this year. I'm not really that concerned about it. Chubb, I think, is, I think we all kind of understand at this point that Chubb is basically, the injuries have just ended his career. He's probably going to steal 2 or, some amount of touchdowns from Mixon, some amount of yards. But I don't think I think that he's not going to be the straw that's going to break Mixon's fantasy value. What I do think is that Mixon is going to regress some. Not just because of Chubb, but more just because of what I said before, the offense shifting away from as run-heavy as it was last year. Mixon has never been crazy efficient as a rusher. He definitely wasn't crazy efficient last year. He was kind of, fine. And he really relied on having a good amount of carries. I think that he could see a little bit without those carries. I think that the idea that Mixon's going to be this RB1, 22 points per game kind of guy is kind of just gone. I'm not going to say he's going to be bad, but I do think you need to understand that, you can't go probably 0 RB, pick up Mixon, and assume he's going to be the RB1 he was last year. I think you need to view Mixon more as a good RB2. I think he absolutely could do 15, 16 points per game and be a very solid RB2, but I just don't think you're going to see those, weeks after week of 20 points, multiple touchdowns. I think it's just important to try and not catch lightning in a bottle twice, because it's not last year, it's this year, and you need to look at it that way. I'm giving him a grade of B.